The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century presents
Cassian Andor. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
Welcome in, Rebellion recruits, to the Cassian Chronicles. Brought to you by the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. This show is a discussion and review of the Disney Plus series Star Wars Andor. And before we get started, I'd like to tell you, my name is Jared.
My name is Matt.
And guess what, Matt?
Don't tell me. He's not here.
Mike is still on strike for Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, look,
the pain is still fresh.
I get that. I understand.
Me and Matt actually spoke to him today, and we were trying to say, "No, dude, watch Andor. Andor's great." And you know what happened?
I thought it was a really kind intervention too. Like we were like, it wasn't like an aggressive, like you need to watch this. We were really trying to like bring him back into the fold.
Well, he responded with deafening silence.
Yeah, nothing at all.
I
mean, I have to say, Jared, you made a convincing argument. It was well thought out, well structured. I thought you were very convincing. And if I hadn't watched Andor, I'd be watching it after what I read.
Well,
he didn't respond at all.
He's a very stubborn person. He's going to do what he's going to do. But you know what? Mike's loss, once again, is our gain.
Absolutely.
Because we've got two of the best with us today for the show.
Bringing it back.
Of course, we have one of our favorite co-hosts from the Kenobi Chronicles. Lindsey is here with us.
Hello.
And of course, from the Hyperspace and various other episodes, we have our friend Brian, the Collector, in the house tonight.
Hey, guys.
You know, it's sad that Mike's not here, but at least he doesn't have the tube trots this time.
No, the tube trots is bad news.
Yeah.
Matt had the tube trots on our last show.
That's right. I missed it.
He ate chocolate that was produced in the 25th century, and you can't do that.
They're trying. They're trying.
But anyway, we're not talking about diarrhea. We're talking about.
Was that what you guys said?
Yeah, the tube trots is diarrhea.
No,
the trots is you know about trots. Come on, everybody gets the trots every now and then. Anyway,
I'll tell you what we're talking about, though. We're talking about lots of spoilers.
Oh crap!
That's it.
Spoiler Walkman, empty, but it's ready to go. And here we go. We're going to talk about spoilers on this show, so you don't want to listen. And I've got it queued up right to the alarm. Here we go. I'm sorry. That's not the alarm. Okay. Fast forwarding.
Like a recording of his tube trots.
Hang on. Here we go. And, oh, yeah. Spoiler. Red alert. Red alert. Okay. We're going to be spoiling the crap out of Andor. Episodes 7, 8, and 9. Those episodes are called Announcement, Narkina 5, and Nobody's Listening, which sometimes feels like the Hyperspace. But I'm just kidding. Come on.
Now, this show, guys, the slow burn is real, but I gotta tell you, I'm digging the burn.
I watched this with Terry. I watched all 3 of these episodes last night with Terry because she needed to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been sort of, in and out. She's like, okay, I guess we can watch another one. But last night for these 3 episodes, she's like, let's watch the next one. Let's watch the next one.
Yeah, I agree.
She's in. She's in.
Well, they've been ending them stronger. I
agree.
I mean, they've really been pushing it now. I mean, you feel it's starting to pick up and it's getting dire and it's getting anxious now. It's great.
Yes. So why don't we get started here? And we're going in no particular order, but probably a loose chronological order with the show. So in the episode immediately following the Eye, we see the repercussions of the heist on Aldhani. And the Empire's retribution is swift and fierce. They enact the what's it called? I've got it here. The Public Order Resentencing Directive, which automatically extends people's sentences who are in prison for suspected rebel activity. The Imperial Security Bureau gets basically carte blanche from the Emperor to use the Navy and Army however they see fit to start tamping down on this. So let's talk about that.
I mean,
I'm throwing it out there.
They're really putting their foot down.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, Andor, he goes on vacation after,
Yes, he does.
right. But I mean, it's funny, they've had this crackdown and he gets caught up in the middle of it. Right.
Yeah.
And
he somehow becomes the central figure of this.
right.
Well, what's so funny, he's like the central figure and they don't know that they already have him.
I know. Isn't that great? It's so true.
Yeah.
The bureaucracy is just so incompetent that
they've completely.
But isn't that always the case of big systems, big corporations? There's always the stuff that's falling through the cracks, even though that they have layers and layers of it. And that's what's so great about this show. And some people, I mean, look, I've read as many complaints about the show as I have compliments. But one of the things a lot of people complained about, which I think is one of the strong points of the show, is that we're seeing that bureaucracy in place. We're seeing the layers being put into the Empire, because before in any show, I mean, the original movies, you had the big bad Empire and it was there and you don't know how it got there or what the structure was. And even in the prequels, you saw the beginning of it, but you never saw how these things happened. And now you're really starting to see the layers and you're starting to understand what is happening in this galaxy. Yeah. And it's really fascinating, I think.
I never thought. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lindsay.
No, I'm sorry. I never thought. I'm sorry.
Let's have a system where we just raise our hands.
We can light up our screens.
Like just like the Senate pods.
The Senate. It felt like how George Lucas wanted to make politics interesting in Star Wars, and he couldn't because nobody cared.
That's a good point
about it in the prequels. And now, without even like realizing that's what's happening, I'm like so invested in how the Empire, not invested, but like fascinated by how the Empire works, and Cassian caught up in it. It's so good.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah, I just love watching those inner workings of the Empire. I never thought a meeting could be so exciting.
Oh yeah, I
agree. It's true.
And they have these great discussions in these meetings. It's like, wow, where was this?
These actors are so good. I think is part.
Very good.
They are. Like we said, they must be British. They have to be British because the Empire is British. And one of the first people we see in the episode announcement, he's a newcomer to the Imperial proceedings. His name is Wolf Yularen. He's the gentleman with white hair and a mustache. And he actually was quite a minor player in the Clone Wars TV show. He was Anakin's one of Anakin's trusted officer friends. And as the Republic turned into the Empire, Wolf Yularen assumed a role in the Empire. And that character actually appears in Star Wars A New Hope in the Death Star briefing room. He's the only one wearing a white tunic.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is all stuff that was, retconned and added later. But he does appear in A New Hope on the Death Star, obviously a different actor. But so this guy who comes in and says, I spoke with Emperor Palpatine last night, and that's Wolf Yularen. And it's interesting to see, this is the first time we get Palpatine name dropped. And it's like you guys are saying, we are seeing now, this is not an Empire who is just Vader and Palpatine in a room going, oh, yes, what can we do next? Like, Palpatine right now doesn't even want to be bothered with this crap because he's off doing his Sith stuff, or or whatever he's doing.
His Sith stuff.
Putting
Yeah,
Star
I mean-
Destroyers and icebergs and
Well,
getting ready
he's-
for the future.
But he's
Oh, God.
he's off doing what he's doing, and he's literally like leaving it to the bureaucrats. Like, okay, you need to go handle this, and they're like, okay.
Mhm.
And so that's why we have the Imperial Security Bureau. And Deidre continues to make a name for herself.
Man, she may be my
Oh.
favorite character in the entire show
She's
right now.
good.
She's great.
And
Fantastic.
quite, as we find out, quite stalkable.
Yes.
Oh,
Man,
man.
What
oh,
is he thinking? What is Cyril
That-
thinking?
okay.
I mean,
that was so interesting because she's such a great character. But she's a bad guy. She's such a great bad built like character. But in that moment, they make you like I was like I relate like
Oh, yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's one of those creepy. I mean, we can skip ahead here, okay? Because
Yeah, of
Cyril,
course.
oh man, what is going on with Cyril?
I mean, he gets a new job and everything, and then
But
does this.
whatever I thought, whatever path I thought he was on, it is totally different now, because I thought, well, maybe this guy could be sympathetic, or maybe he's just going to be all in on with the Empire, which seems to be what he's doing. But he is going way. I mean, he's a creep. He's, that interaction between him and Deidre outside the security bureau was sort of real world creepy.
oh yeah.
Like
Oh,
he
absolutely.
he grabs her arm and he's like, no, we have a connection. We're
What
gonna.
does he say? He's like, "You're what makes my life worth living," or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, it was really creepy.
And it's
Ugh.
like, and you got to think like, oh man, this guy. And you think about his whole situation. It's his mother. It's like a Norman Bates thing almost. It's like
yeah.
she
And
is like,
I
Oh.
never thought he was going to be very sympathetic, but I never thought that we'd have that moment. I was like,
Okay,
what
so
is happening?
I do have a theory about the two of them.
What do you think?
I think that she's going to hit a dead end somewhere, and she's going to go back to him. She's going to find Cyril and ask for his help.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
like
he's
it
got,
if she manipulated him into helping her.
Well-
she might,
And
because
then-
we have seen she is capable
Yeah.
of such
Oh.
things.
well,
for
remember,
sure.
he knows Cassian. He's been studying Cassian. He knows everything about him. And to Lindsay's point, he's in custody of the Empire and nobody knows it. So he's going to be unleashed and he's going to go hound dog him down. But I mean,
Well,
he's unbelievably strange. And you know what? That's what's great about this. He hasn't gotten a lot of screen time. And that's what's so great about this show so far, is that these characters that really are being woven in and out with minimal screen time are getting so complex and they're becoming so interesting. It's such a great testament to the writing and how, and in fact, you know what's funny? I was thinking about this today, that this show, take the Star Wars out of it, right? Take Star Wars out and just do the show as is and put in different entities. You still have an unbelievably great show. The bonus is Star Wars on this. That's how well crafted this story is, and
Yeah.
how great the acting is, and the effects are cinema quality. I mean, it's just such a great show to watch. And that the fact that it's Star Wars and leading up to Rogue One, and it feels like Rogue One. I mean, it's like, it doesn't get better than this, in my opinion.
well, I agree with everything you said. But before we move on from Cyril,
No, I'm not done with Zero.
I have a great opportunity for some prop comedy. I'm going to do it now.
Oh, good.
Is there blue milk in that?
God.
No, it was a piece of Hannah's birthday cake, but when his mom is just bitching at him, and he just tips up the cereal.
He shuts her
bowl
down by
and
putting the bowl up.
starts slurping. I
Man.
just was like, man, what kind of craziness am I watching right now? But it was
Yeah.
so good.
And
Yeah,
then-
their dynamic is
That his mother is just really. She's an odd-looking person. I mean, she looks almost like an alien, kind of, because
Like
she's
a toy Darian.
well, she's really small,
oh,
and
Very.
well, I mean, I don't mean to.
what a small alien.
I mean, she
know.
looks like she's
Very.
4'6", small.
Yeah, she's very tiny, and
Oh.
She looks
comes
like
in
the
there,
shout out Mapes from the original Dune
and she's
walking around.
well, and she sounds like she smokes about 18 cartons of Virginia Slims a
Yeah,
day.
that's true.
She's like, "Oh, Uncle Hollow."
Okay,
She's-
wait. Now, by the way,
she's
who is the uncle? He has to be somebody whom we're going
We
to
still
like. It's
haven't
going to
seen him,
connect.
right?
Yeah.
No,
Like the
so
nickname is something, but like he's got to be someone that we're going to recognize. I
Oh.
Uncle
imagine.
Harlow. Yeah, I
Harlow.
don't know who that could be, but he's obviously somebody that's important.
Yeah.
And probably not his real uncle, but I don't know. Maybe somebody who does favors, or like it's like the Godfather, maybe some guy like that.
Mhm,
But
mhm, mhm.
anyway, Cyril, his story is going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Did you see how when he told his mom he got a promotion, she started just shoving more cereal into his bowl?
She's like,
You've earned
"Good
it.
job."
She's like, "Here you go. Yeah, you've earned this.
Here,
More
more
Cocoa
cereal
Puffs."
for you.
You said the Norman Bates thing. I'm like waiting for the scene where he just kills her.
He offs him.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I mean,
Like-
that could be, because he definitely seems like he has it in him.
Well, how about this theory? Okay.
Yeah.
How about the uncle is a rebel sympathizer and he turns his own mother in? That's how dirty of a
Oh.
player he could be. So
It's
Oh.
possible.
So I think he's going to be the lowest of the low.
Wonder
So-
if Uncle Harlow is Luthen.
Oh,
Oh no.
You know what? The connection could be. Hey, listen, nothing. I don't put anything past the writers. These guys are doing a great job. These girls. and girls.
Although Luthen,
I don't think it's Luthen. But
no, because he would know, because Luthen held a gun to Cyril's head earlier.
I'm just saying.
in the
I
season.
think there's a lot of great surprises still left for us with Cyril.
Sure. We find, so like we said earlier, we're dealing with the aftermath of this heist, and it's quite big news. I mean, as we were talking, Cyril and his mother see it on a newscast, which is interesting because we don't really see that much in Star Wars. Like,
News.
it's like, hey, these people are just watching the news, and they're like, oh, the heist on Aldhani last night,
Right.
where many people were killed and blah blah blah, and so everything is buzzing, and we find out like Mon Mothma may not be ready for what's in front of her.
A little over her head.
She visits Luthen the next day, and she's not happy at all. She tells him, what was this, you? Like, Luthen, I thought he was complicit with Mon Mothma here a little bit, but it turns out Luthen is, and later when he talks to Saw Gerrera, he does not accept responsibility for Aldhani.
Mhm. A lot of isolated
Yes.
like people in the rebellion, like doing stuff without talking to each other. What does he say to Saw? He's like, are you done fighting with people that agree with you or something?
Yeah, because Saw Gerrera doesn't like anybody.
I
but,
know, but I like
he's alone.
I liked the way Luthen said it to it. Like,
The
I just
only
liked
one
it.
with clarity of purpose.
I like that whole scene. That was so good.
So good. Let's
Man,
talk about
yeah.
Saw Gerrera.
Okay, Saw Gerrera.
God,
We're going out of order, but
who cares?
Yeah,
These
we are.
gotta talk about Saw.
Saw, and this does illustrate brilliantly that there are many isolated, as Lindsey said, rebel cells all over the place,
Mhm.
and they're not talking to each other. They don't know what the other one is doing or going to do. And Luthen basically goes to Saw to pitch him on, hey, we got to start getting together and getting our stuff organized. But Saw is not, he doesn't want anything to do with that. And it's funny, he goes down a list of everything that the Rebel Alliance is called. Like, he's like, we have Neo-Republicans, which to me spells New Republic. Then we have the Separatists, the Partisans, the Gorman Front, human cultists, or whatever they're called. But it's interesting to hear this list of just how disorganized everything is. It's not like when you saw A New Hope for the first time and you're like, oh, okay, well, these people just got together and they're all
Right.
They're all on the same team and everything's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, even Rogue One, I'm thinking like Cassian's a captain and he's reporting to a general and everything's very organized and he's very much a person who follows orders, and that I'm interested, like that's not who he is in this
spoiler
show.
alert, Saw in Rogue One is still not on the team.
Nope.
Yeah.
He is a holdout, and Mon Mothma says in Rogue One that Saw's militancy makes people uncomfortable.
Well, again, any insurgency, any rebellion is going to have the roots in these violent, we talked about this, these violent cells that have to get the early stuff done, the tough stuff. But then you can't carry this element on with you if you're going to have a legitimate government and a legitimate expression of your beliefs. You have to,
that's true.
You have to push these aside and almost snuff them out, or else they're going to come back to bite you or even become a problem for you. So, I mean, Saw from the start has been doing his own thing, and he's had his own rebellion from the very start in the Clone Wars to the very end of his life.
Yeah, and
he's been doing his own thing.
And Saw was in Saw, voiced by Forrest Whitaker, was in the show Rebels, and we found him. We caught up with Saw, who was on Geonosis, and he was torturing Geonosians to find out more about the Death Star. And in that show, they were like, hey, dude, what are you doing? Leave these people alone. They don't know it. He was basically torturing Geonosian civilians to try to get information about what they knew about this huge project that was going on. So Saw, he's out of F's to give. So Saw is really all in on this. And during Luthen's conversation with him, they sort of playfully, hey, was Aldhani you? No. Was it you? No. Well, can we agree that it was just a work of art? And they're like, yes. And they bring up some other guy's name.
Oh, Krieger.
Yes, we haven't met Krieger.
Luthen wanted Saw to help him out with a militant operation.
Yes.
Krieger is known in other parts because he gets brought up in those ISB meetings.
Yes, he does.
And so that makes they're kind of on the ISB's onto Krieger.
And Krieger is the one who lost the X-Wing pilot, right?
Yes.
Is that what they said? Okay.
Yeah, with the navigational system or whatever he had.
Yeah.
And they had that pilot prisoner, and they just casually said, okay, well, we'll kill him and make up some.
Yeah.
The way they're able to like make the Empire so like horrible and everything they like don't, it's like Disney, right? So they don't show anything really horrible, but the way the show is written, you just imagine it in your mind, and it's worse. It's the torture, like the torture that happens, going back, but like the torture that happens to Bix, like,
oh yeah,
it was horrible. Horrible.
I
was like,
oh my
light. God.
The screams of children, the death screams
of dying children. I was like, Jesus.
That's
dark.
It's
dark.
It's bad news.
Like, but they never like show. You don't even hear. You don't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You just hear that creepy doctor.
Oh, and he's just
describe it.
He's like, okay, so here's what's going to happen.
You won't believe what I have on this thing for you to listen to.
Yeah, we totally discovered this by accident. And the people who were reviewing these videos of death and destruction, we found them several days later, huddled together under the bridge of a destroyer, and they were losing their minds. And it's like what?
Like, it's so, I don't know, like, it's just so dull.
But you're seeing that element all over the show now. Like, you're seeing the militarization of the Empire taking over these small towns and these small sectors of the galaxy. They're hanging people in the street. That's how we found out that Cassian's adopted father, that's how he died.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, and then you hear Daedra's one of the captains on the planet say, "I'd like to hang him." It's like this is happening now all over the galaxy.
Sweet guy who just let Bix go use his tower all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and
she's like, sure, go hang him.
Yeah, go ahead. But
So come.
it shows you, and it's a brilliant way of showing you how, because at this point the Empire's been about 15 years in power, but this thing on Aldhani has really given them that excuse to, okay, we're putting stormtroopers everywhere. We're gonna put Star Destroyers wherever we need them, and it really kind of builds up to what you see in the original movies and Rogue One. Like this is all built from that point. Like I'm sure the Empire was more of like a peacekeeping force up until this stuff started happening, and
they were just waiting for an excuse to.
Yeah. So,
crack
and it is brilliant that you've seen, because that Palpatine runs everything, and Palpatine is an evil person. I mean, he's like evil personified, but now that you see the layers that support him, like it's not just the guy at the top, it's like everybody on the ground level. It's not about zapping you with Sith lightning, it's about torturing you until it drives you crazy and then hanging you. It's so it's, I mean,
and it's going after families too. It's, I mean, there's this is a very, this is I'm sure just a raw analogy for how Nazi Germany used to be back in World War II, of course. But like they talked about, have you gone after Cassian's mother yet? And she's like, no, I want to just kind of leave her in place and see what happens. But like that one of their first things was like, well, go torture the mom and see what she knows. It's like they're going after every, small facet in society to get what they want. And they are empowered completely to do so. It's crazy to watch. But it's funny because like in the Clone Wars, we got a lot of politics in the Clone Wars. We got a lot of like different kind of like layers and perspectives that we hadn't seen in the movies. But I still, the more I watch this show, the more I believe that this is the best filling out of white space that I've seen yet in Star Wars. Like I feel like I'm getting a better grasp of how the galaxy is working and what's going on watching this show than I have in any other Star Wars show. And that goes for like Rebels or Clone Wars or any of the movies. I think this show is doing an amazing job in painting that picture and answering a lot of questions that I've always had about Star Wars. And like, I'm a kid in a candy store with this show now. It's like, they can't give me enough information each episode.
With the Empire right now at this stage, the only thing restraining them is themselves.
Yes.
It's the only restraint out there is themselves.
And they have no restraint.
Right. I mean, they're just going full tilt.
And of course, the Senate is still there as like purely it's
you're all like turning off their lights and leaving when Mon Mothma's talking.
Yeah.
It's a purely ceremonial thing that goes on. And Mon Mothma, she is still right now, I think, a believer that she can change things through the legitimacy of the government.
Yeah, she calls it a temple. Like she still very much thinks that.
And so, but she is, and it's funny, her friend, Tay, her friend who I think looks a little like Terrence Stamp. It's her friend, her childhood friend that she has her financier, I guess he is.
Right.
And
former boyfriend, I believe it is, as we find out.
Yeah. And it's weird.
They imply that, and she's like, no.
Well,
no.
It's strange. We do get some of that weird prequel stuff because they were married. She was married to Perrin, her husband, at 15. And they were senators by 16. Mm-hmm. So it is that weird sort of otherworldly, because, like Padme was, a kid and she was ruler of her people. And I think that's the kind of sort of offbeat, crazy Star Wars I've always kind of liked, because it's just so different from what we know. But they sort of continue that on in this show. And so when she's talking to Tay about, this is really Mon Mothma, she wants to fund the rebellion in this way, not by stealing, 80 million credits. She's trying to launder 400,000 credits of her own money. And it's it's interesting that she is still very skittish about all this. And she's like, I'm about to tell you something that only 3 other people in the galaxy know about. She's talking to Tay, her friend. And I think that's just an interesting contrast, in that Mon Mothma is on the polar opposite of like Saw Gerrera in how they're going to go about this. Like Mon Mothma wants, and she gets really upset when Tay suggests bringing in the criminal element,
Yeah.
which is another hallmark of Star Wars. You've always had people like, Jabba the Hutt, who the crime lords in the Star Wars galaxy are almost as powerful as legitimate governments.
Sure.
And so I think it's very interesting that they're about to introduce some sort of gangster character to help the rebels. And it's very Star Wars. And then it's, I go to the highest bidder, I'll help the rebellion. I'll help the Empire. I don't care as long as I'm getting paid. So, and Mon Mothma, again, is not happy about that arrangement, but Tay's like, what do you want me to do? I'm trying to help you. I think that's going to be something that plays out in a fascinating way.
I like seeing her journey, by the way. I like so far where they've taken her, especially in this last episode where, she gets out of the Senate, as you were just saying, like everyone's turning the lights off, and you see her get in her car, and you can see that she's feeling the weight of this dejection and how things are changing. And it's the weight on her is palpable. It's right there. You can see it in her. Like the actress is doing an amazing job. You can see it. She's losing what's left of the Republic, and she can't stop it. And you can see that it's just like beating her up left and right. And it's like I love seeing, like, because when you first meet her, she's very like elegant. And she's very like, what's the word? She's she's always confident, but like you feel like she's on a mission, and then you start to see that her confidence is breaking down. The world is changing, and she doesn't want to. It's amazing. Mon Mothma. What's this actress's name?
Genevieve O'Reilly.
She's doing a great job. She's so well cast.
Yeah.
Now she's finally getting a chance to really expand on the part.
Yeah, she was cast in that role for Revenge of the Sith, and ended up on the cutting room floor in a deleted scene that they did put on the DVD, and you could see her performance. And then they were like, well, she was really good. So they brought her back for Rogue One.
Yeah.
And she also played the role in Rebels as well. And I could totally see her as the lady who is in Return of the Jedi addressing the fleet. She's really working her way up to that. And she's doing a great job.
What do you think her husband is going to do? What do you think the deal is there?
He's trouble.
He's slobby, man. That guy, he's bad.
And the daughter is also a problem.
Yeah,
because
she's just young and dumb.
Oh yeah. She's a 16-year-old girl, and I know all about that. But yeah, I think she's going to lose her husband and her daughter. I think that through whether they're going to turn her in or they're going to be something tragic happens to them.
I don't know. I think maybe she just leaves him.
It's possible, which could also be that could be a great weight that she carries with her.
Yeah, it just feels like they don't feel like he almost doesn't feel like he's. I don't know what to say. Like he's not like maneuvering and smart enough to realize what's happening. He just kind of sucks.
Well, I think he's smart. I think he's smarter than that. I think he's more behind the scenes than we've seen yet.
He did give some. He did. I think there was a slight spark of jealousy when Tay entered the picture. That
I agree with. And I feel like that's the most he's suspecting is like she's hooking up with her childhood.
Yeah.
And he starts in subsequent episodes. He comes around more. Yeah. And he's like, Tay, what are you doing here, buddy? Don't you go back to Chandrilla? What are you doing? Are you commuting? Are you staying here?
Maybe that's
a little of both.
Maybe that suspicion like leads him to find out more than he.
We don't know what he does on Coruscant, do we? Have we established that yet?
No, he drinks and eats.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Yeah.
Walks around in robes.
He's a senator's husband, but he's
Yeah.
also a senator.
What if Mon
Never mind.
Mothma has to take out her husband?
Oh God.
I mean, that
I
could
feel
be
like
interesting.
maybe she gets Cassian to do it. He's an assassin.
Well, hey,
He is
you know,
eventually.
Or
speaking of Cassian, we haven't even talked about what's going on with him yet.
Oh my God.
Well, you know what? Start by this then. We talked about with the new was it the Protectorate Order? What do they call that? With
It's the hang on, I have it right here, Matt. I've
Thank
got
you.
it on my other laptop. It is the Public Order
Okay.
Resentencing Directive.
which, by the way, is a hilarious scene. I mean, he's on vacation on a beach world. He's taking a stroll and he just gets caught up, right? And by the way, trivia, the stormtrooper that stops him in that little amphitheater thing is actually
Sam Witwer.
who played
What?
Darth Maul.
He's
Maul.
the voice of Darth Maul, and he's also someone my wife would leave me for.
He's the Force Unleashed guy, right?
Yes, he is. He's
So-
the very handsome Force
What?
Unleashed guys. Yeah.
I didn't know he was.
yeah, so that was the stormtrooper. But what's great about that is you know, we get to see how the Empire, which we know in the background is building the Death Star. And the Death Star is massive. I mean, it is an unbelievably huge engineering project, which is unfathomable to think about how it's built, because nobody can wrap their brain around something that big and what it takes. But we're starting to see what it takes, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is when he gets arrested, one of the things they're asking him is, what's your home planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they then are sending them to these specific prison worlds
Yes.
associated to their being, who they are, what kind of like being they are. Because if you notice at the prison, there's only humans. There are no aliens, which is rare
only
in Star
male
Wars.
humans. Only
Yes.
male humans.
Yeah, the
So-
only
So
yeah.
we've seen, but you're right. So
Right.
so they're pairing them up for whatever reason, maybe for skill sets, for whatever. But like machinery is designed
Well,
specifically for that
Yeah,
group.
for their bipedal.
Yep.
When I
bodies.
rewatched it, I did pick up on they called them something. They're like fit for labor.
Mhm.
Right.
Like, okay, Andor
Ugh.
is fit for labor.
So it's amazing. So that's what they're doing. They're and this guy obviously didn't do anything, but yet they got him on a charge for 6 years for
Yeah,
you know,
which
being
was
in the wrong place,
It's
wrong
only
time.
6 months at the beginning, and
Oh my God.
I love that
and
judge. Oh, you
You're
just,
a
you
rat.
just missed it.
Merciless,
6
man.
years.
Yeah, take it up with the Emperor.
yeah, we're
Oh.
gonna give
That
you
was-
12 times the original sentence.
And that's
for
what
something
they're
you didn't
doing.
do
They're
to begin with.
they're grabbing all of these people from all around the galaxy and employing them to build the stuff for the Death Star. Well, I'm
Not
assuming that's what-
employing them.
Yeah.
They're
Forcing them.
enslaved.
enslaving
Well-
them. Just
well,
simply.
Leaving them.
Because, and I think what you said is sparked something in my brain. Cassian just he didn't even say anything to that stormtrooper.
Right.
He's like, whoa, I'm not. He goes, why are you sweating? Where are you going? What are you
You're a
doing?
part of it.
And
I'm
and
on the
then-
beach.
and then
It's hot
our
out
good
here.
buddy K2SO comes,
Oh, I know.
I know.
and he comes strolling up the beach. Obviously not K2SO, but his identical model.
Imperial droid.
And he goes, here, hang on to this guy. And
Ugh.
and he's like, grabs him by the neck and holds him up. He's like, I'm hanging on to you. But so these
I don't know
stormtroopers,
if it was just the mood I was in when I was watching it. I did not think that was funny. I was like, oh my God, what is, I mean, it's funny, like now that we're talking about it a little bit, because the K2 droid, that the way he was saying that was
Yeah.
funny. But when I was watching it, I was just like, this is horrible.
It feels
Well-
very dire.
He
well,
didn't do anything.
no, he didn't. But I think the stormtroopers are going around to people. Like if I was a stormtrooper, I'd say, Lindsey, why is your hair red?
Got a
What
quota.
are you doing? No.
Got a quota.
You're wearing a camouflage shirt. You go stand in the corner and I'll deal with you in a minute. Matt, what are those headphones?
Yeah.
No, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
No. Go over here. We'll deal with you.
Yeah,
So-
you said it like a quota. They got to
They're-
get workers. In
Yeah,
there.
they're just like, okay, we need to grab these people and we need to get them doing stuff. So Cassian, now let's talk about, somebody said earlier, like, well, everybody's dealing with the repercussions and Cassian goes on vacation to a beach planet.
Oh,
Yes.
well, he tried. He
Well-
tried to get his mom to leave, and she was like, "No."
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because right now it says something about where Cassian is at as a character. He's not a true believer by any stretch of the imagination.
He's a mercenary.
He took the money and he ran.
Right.
And
But
that
they show throughout that episode, they show the flashbacks of him when his adoptive father is
Yes.
murdered.
Yep.
They show that he grabs a stick and he goes to beat some stormtrooper butts.
I believe those are
And-
phase 2 clone troopers, aren't they?
And
Phase 3.
So
Phase 3. Sorry.
so he's like, so they never, I think that's like he talks about from the Aldani mission, he talked about being in a prison when he was like 13. So I'm like, did he get arrested after he did that? Like, there's some stuff about him that he's maybe not acting like a true believer now, but I feel like something happened.
Well,
in
you
the
could be
past.
right. And I thought that scene that you're talking about where he goes after the clone troopers,
And then it
Well,
cuts.
it was confusingly shot, I think, because it showed him as an adult.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was watching these clone troopers march down the street. But then you cut and it's a boy. It's a smaller
Mhm.
boy who's obviously meant to, I guess it's the same actor they used earlier. But yeah, I sort of, the second time watching it, I kind of pieced together what was going on. And so we find out his father, his adopted father, Clem, was he threw something at the troopers and people were saying, "Long live the Republic." And this is also,
Well, Clem didn't throw anything.
No,
at
Clem
him.
didn't.
He was trying to stop the guys.
trying to
Yeah,
peacemake
throwing
it.
stuff.
Okay.
But he got
He's
accused of it.
He, again, not doing anything.
Right.
Yes,
And
Exactly.
just associated with these people.
but this,
But to jump in, even his mom, who, he's like, come with me. He's like, let's get out of here. I've got all this money, let's get out of here. And she's like, I'm not leaving. She's like, I'm not leaving. I'm just like, I got to do my part. She's like, I'm a rebel. I got to do this. Whatever I can do in this, end of my life, I'm going to do to
and
help.
she grabs
this
a
cause.
blaster after he leaves, and she just grabs a blaster with her cane and then
Yeah.
goes and sits back down.
And she's going to do. And so, all of these pieces are weighing on him to have a crisis of conscience at some point about what he's doing. And, you can see that I don't know if he's obviously having a good time in the beach planet, but you can see that he's not having a great time. He's not like, he's not like at peace. He's still troubled. So
He's like trying to sort of maybe just numb it by,
Mhm.
maybe, drinking and
Women.
finding the company of ladies. But, we see the morning that he leaves, he's with a woman, and she wants him to get the certain kind of snacks. It made me laugh. I
Is
don't.
that almost like
Yeah.
pizza?
Yeah,
So-
she's like,
and he just leaves his like how much money just on the top of the shower.
yeah,
This
he
is a
took-
good
That's
place.
still there. Is
yeah,
that still there?
yeah.
it's got to be.
He took all his
Like-
money
Oh my God.
with him, and he leaves it there. So if that woman finds it, she's gonna have a good day, I guess. But because Cassian, he's not getting that back.
No.
The manifesto, Nemec's little manifesto's in there too, probably.
Was it?
I mean, where else would it be?
If he still has it.
Oh,
yeah.
because
He still has
it
it.
was
Yeah.
given to him. But yeah, so all that stuff is gone from him now because we get to Narkina 5, and we get a nice little demonstration of what happens to you if you misbehave.
Mhm.
All the Imperial troops are wearing Reebok pumps.
Well, almost all. Of it.
Oh,
They turn on the floor of this prison, which is kind of ingeniously designed. And
Isn't this what they did in Face Off with Travolta? And
it's a similar, it's magnets there.
oh, okay.
But you get fried if because nobody wears shoes in this
If
place.
you get off program, you go
Yes.
fried. You get
On-
fried.
on program. So Cassian, he is introduced to his new life, and we get a little surprise actor here who I had no idea was in this show. And our good pal Gollum comes walking up going, "Ah, you're precious."
also known as Snoke.
Yes. And he
Oh
also
my God.
Andy Serkis said in an interview I saw today, he goes, "No, There is no connection between this man and Snoke whatsoever. So don't start doing that.
I was going to say maybe the Palpatine ripped him out of the prison,
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
put him in a
Well-
cloning container.
He's like, no, there is nothing like that going on.
He is doing amazing in his role.
I love
Yeah.
his character.
No,
And
what I
who
love
is he?
about-
So what's going on with this prison here? What's the
thing-
structure?
One thing what I like about Andy Serkis is when he shows up on the scene, I don't ever recognize him. Like
Well-
I just don't see, some people you see Harrison Ford and you're like, oh, that's Harrison Ford. It takes
Sure.
you out of it. But with Andy Serkis, it doesn't do that to me.
Yeah, no,
which is great.
he is every role that
Well,
he plays.
because
He's very good.
because he's usually a CG character.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
It-
that's true.
It helps that you hardly ever see. He's
Yeah, it's
usually
true.
a golem or an ape or Snoke or somebody that you don't recognize. But
So each worker, as they call them, is assigned X amount of shifts before they get released, and that's their number that they have to complete in their mind before they get to leave this prison.
Yeah, and it's funny. Andor's on his little thing. It says like 2189 or something,
Something like
Mhm.
that.
which is about 6 years.
that's
Mhm.
perfect. Yeah, it
I
works
mean, yeah,
out.
it was. I think 2190 or give or take a couple of
And
days.
it's crazy. I think I talked about this about how it feels like the show is counting down. Like that's
Yes.
even less time. How many shifts he has is even less time than he's alive.
Right.
Yes,
True. Yeah,
that's true.
a good
Because
point.
so we know he's getting
I'm
out of
like-
there.
I just feel he has like plot armor in the show, but it's like we know he's gonna die. I don't know why. I just like the show's always like really subtly reminding you. I don't
So
know. It's just-
I do think that the show did a great job of sort of setting up what the day-to-day of these prisoners are. I mean, it laid it out very specifically, and Matt, Brian was talking about this last week. They live the life of us in the 25th century. They sleep in tubes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They eat nutrient paste.
Oh my
um,
God.
The
That's
only
what-
thing is, you put a door on their cubicles where they sleep. That's us. We
That's
get
it.
doors here. That's the only difference.
So, it's interesting that, they are the day shift. Like Kino Loy is Andy Serkis's name in the show. And he breaks down, he goes, you are on level 2, station 23, D for day shift. That, this is what we do. It's 12-hour shifts. And there are 7 tables in the
7
room.
levels and 7 tables and 7 teams.
Yes.
It's all the 7.
And we find out the winner, whoever's most productive that day, gets flavor in their paste.
Oh, can you imagine how awful that nutrient paste must be?
Oh,
This bland,
And-
tasteless goop.
So they get flavor with their food. And if you're in last place, then you get fried. You get subjected to the
Torture,
floor. So it's a pretty miserable. And then you go back to your tube, and you I guess you have 12 hours off that you can use however you like.
As long
yeah.
as you don't
Or
step on the
Just
floor
don't
too
step on the
much.
heated floors.
Oh
God.
yeah. Oh, and you also have a nice, very private shower situation, which is really good. Every day you go
the
into
communal shower.
you just stand there and let the steam hit you. And then
Yeah.
go get your
Oh man, that's awful.
I'm so
So-
freaked out.
But I mean,
It's like
but you could see what
It's-
is Circus's name in the show? What's his name?
Kino Loy.
I mean, look, the guy is committed because he only has 216 or 260 shifts left.
Oh, he only
And
has 41 left.
he
No,
said-
that's
no,
the
no,
old
the
no.
old man. That's the old man.
You're right. I'm sorry.
No, but
Rudolph?
he can
Olaf.
see the end.
Yeah,
he can
Olaf.
see the end, right?
Olaf's
The,
twin
like the
brother.
end, the light at the end of the tunnel is there. He's like the foreman of the floor, and he is going to make sure that everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to do according to the rules, and he's going to get out. So, every time there's a disturbance, every time somebody has, is not paying attention, he's on them, and he's doing a great job in these episodes. We meet him, like he's on top of every table. And every time something happens, he's right there, and he's keeping everybody in line and on program.
He's got the best job. He doesn't.
Well,
it's not physically taxing at all. He just
Well,
walks around.
He just
and
walks
looks at
around and yells at
Hey,
people.
go
Hey,
faster.
what do? You taking a breather?
And it's interesting too, because we see other dynamics in this prison too, like when they're going between shifts and they're like passing by like the night shift and the day shift, and you see people talking with hand signals to other tubes
Yeah.
across the way. You see, like, it's just like prison kites, like they've already like established ways of talking and getting information across. So they, you know, they kind of like seed that one for you a little later because something big happens in this prison that turns the whole thing upside down.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. I think it might have been alluded to even before we ever found out, because they talked about moving someone from level 4, or they had a release on level 4 right when Cassian was being brought in.
Okay.
There was somebody the guy was late because he had to go help release somebody from level 4
you're
or
right.
something.
God,
And
you're
I
right.
bet that guy that
Forgot
got
about
released
that.
from 4 moved to 2, and then that's, well, you know, everybody found out that he wasn't released.
How I don't
He was
understand
just
how that
released from his floor.
and that's what happens. Big spoiler here. What happens is like they're in between shifts, and all of a sudden there's a massive power failure in the entire prison. And as it turns out, we find out that power was being used to fry an entire floor,
Yes.
to kill the entire occupants working in that room, because somebody had successfully completed their entire shifts and they were down and they were going to be released, but instead of being released, they were transferred to a new floor with a new sentence. So as we find out, whether that was always how the prison worked or how the Empire shifted its gears and shifted its, you know, its direction, and is now saying nobody's getting out. We're going to work these people until they're dead.
Yeah. And it could be also that they, you know, they extended sentences, right? You know, they said they're going to evaluate all the sentences for
Yes.
prisoners.
So
So it could have been part of that too.
I don't think that it would be really hard for me to believe that this is the way they were doing business the whole time, because
Yeah, that's
there
what I
would have
think.
been
I think they
there would have been
shifted.
riots
Yeah.
every time this happened.
I think they shifted.
Right.
So they're like, okay, crap. Well, here's what we got to do. We're just going to move this guy to another level and tell him to keep his mouth shut.
Yep.
And obviously that didn't work. So he told everybody and they all got killed.
And earlier in the episode, Andor has been, you know, he's been there about a month, I guess, when we pick up in the most recent episode. And he's in his routine and he's probing everybody to get information. How many guards are here? He noticed when they're on anything that moves up and down, any kind of like elevator, they're not wearing boots. So the elevators, anything that moves is not electrified. So he's gathering all this information and he keeps probing. God, what's his name again?
Kino.
I can't remember his name. Kino. He keeps probing him, say, "Hey, help me out. Nobody's listening here. Look, we can shout all day long. They know they've got us. We can't escape. So why don't you help me out? How many guards are on each level?" And Kino won't give up. He won't give it up. He's like, no.
He's like, you need to change your thinking.
He's not risking
And you
anything.
can see him, you guys, and that the guy that he like keeps kind of like eyeing and talking to is Melshi from the
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, so I know these two are gonna work
Yes.
together.
It's the same actor. Melshi was a very small part in Rogue One, but they did name drop him once or twice in Rogue One, but
He looks different in Rogue One. He's got like shaved head and a beard.
Yeah.
That's very different.
But at this point, the prison has had this uprising. Everybody seems to know about it. Everyone's talking about it. In the last episode, there's an old man on Cassian's table in his group.
Olaf.
And Olaf, I liked Olaf. I think he's a good character.
He looked like an Ugnaught.
He did, yeah. He looked like an Ugnaught. And this
Like
guy's
Cleo
having
for Mandalorian.
We see that he's been
Work
having
to
trouble with his
bone.
hands. He's not focused. You know,
He's old.
He's old. He's in his own world. He can't stay on task. And this in the final episode, they're holding him up because he's literally collapsing. And
they're trying to block so they can't see him, so he doesn't get in trouble.
And how they don't get fried as well. And as it
Cassian
turns,
tells everyone, he's like, if they think you don't know anything, you're fine. Like and I think doesn't he give the other guy credit for something that he thinks to do? Like Cassian just keeps deflecting and making himself very, like, don't think about me.
invisible. Yeah, you're right.
I'm not, don't worry about me. I don't know anything. I'm not doing anything.
But they learned something interesting because unfortunately the old man dies of a massive stroke, as we find out in the hallway.
Well, he's euthanized.
Well,
Yes.
he's dying. Let's say he suffered a major stroke and a medic comes in who obviously this medic is a prisoner like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting scene. And they have to euthanize him, they put him out. And obviously the medic is like, I should be this lucky someday to be able to
Yeah,
go
he's
this
like-
way because
he's like,
I'm never getting out of here.
He's like,
And he
don't
even
feel
kinda
bad for
mentions
your
that
friend.
I'm not allowed to really help people.
Yeah, he's like, I don't help anyone.
Yeah.
Like he comes in there with one briefcase and he already had what he was
Yep,
going to use.
exactly. That's it.
And he's like, he's had a stroke. And he's like, your friend is a lucky one.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Because
Melshi said that too when he says that about the second floor. He's like, they set him all free. Like that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so
Ugh.
there's one question I had. I don't know, maybe you guys could help me with this. At one point, I guess Cassian takes a bathroom break.
Yes.
Yes.
And he goes and starts sawing on a pipe.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't understand what he's doing.
But who
He
knows?
must
I mean,
have
look,
some sort of plan.
I think he's got a
working on.
plan.
yeah, he's
Okay.
working on something, and he's had the luxury of time where nothing has happened. Routine has been very steady, so he can get this done. But now, all bets are off. Everything's about to change. This
Yes.
prison is not what it was the day before, and it is
Well,
it's tense. And my favorite part was when they were finally walking back down the hall and program. They had to get back in program, and he's like, he's going to ask him again. He's like, how many guards on each level? And
he goes, Kino.
Kino's like, he's
Mhm.
like, he's just like, you could see, he's like, never more than 12. Gives it up. He's like, he's on board now. He's on board
Mhm.
because he knows he's screwed too, like everybody else.
Well,
Yep.
the way this show,
so good.
the way
So
this
good.
show is structured, what we're going to see, and Tony Gilroy, the showrunner, said that the episode where Cassian's on the Miami planet, that was a standalone. That was sort of an interstitial standalone episode.
Mhm.
So we've just gotten, I guess, in what you can call the prison trilogy. And if the next, as we record this, the next show will be released Wednesday, and it will be the conclusion of this trilogy. And I think we know we're building to a prison break. And if you've watched the trailers, you've seen some of this. Unfortunately,
Man, I can't wait.
I tried to forget it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've totally forgotten the trailers, so
Okay, so
I'm good.
next episode will be the climax of this particular little trilogy, and then we only have
Two more, right?
we'll have episode 11 and episode 12 for the wrap. So before we close this out, does anybody have any final thoughts? Anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I have a few things in my notes. that,
Notes.
Yeah, we got notes today. So a location that was mentioned in The Empire Strikes Back comes up again, Ord
Yes.
Mantell.
Mhm.
Ord Mantell.
And then there was a really nice callback to A New Hope.
I know
when-
exactly where you're going.
when Bix is getting tortured and they walk out, and I guess Dedra stays in there, and they close that door,
You see the
and
footsteps.
you see that guy booking it down the hallway.
Scene
Oh, man, it
almost-
was like
you
a
could play 'em-
straight up
you
callback.
could play them on top of each other.
It's
It'd be
just like the
same
scene where
Yep.
Vader's about to torture Leia
Yep.
on the Death Star, and the door closes, and that Imperial officer walks by the camera.
Yeah,
I mean, this
that is
show's all
100
about there's deep cuts, man. There's deep cuts in this show, and if you're a fan, you're getting a lot
Yeah.
out of it.
it just jumped.
You can
at
almost
me
hear
when
that
I saw
music,
that.
that boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom, boom. You know what's strange to me, and I understand it, but they did release viewership numbers for this show, and it is low.
I don't get that. It's so
It is-
good.
I don't
It is
either.
way lower than any of the live action stuff they put out.
Well,
yet.
I mean,
Wow.
look, they obviously were having some misfires with Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, and you even have like true fans like Mike who aren't tuning in to watch it right now.
Yeah.
And this isn't a run and gun. This isn't a real
there's not
traditional.
explosions every week.
No, you don't have
Yeah.
plucky aliens and droids, for comic relief every 2 seconds. So this is not a normal Star Wars event. This is something much
Mhm.
more complex and deep and more
Yeah.
granular than that.
It's
So-
very serious.
And
It's a soap
you know
opera.
what?
It's a soap
I
opera.
don't even care because they're already going to film season 2 and we already know season 2 is the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's already going to get to be done and made. So
This is going to go down as one of those things that people are going to pick up on, and it's going to become one of the cherished things. Look, people love Rogue One, and people talk about Rogue One now that it's like one of the best things of Star Wars, and it is. Rogue
Mhm.
One is arguably one of the best Star Wars movies, and they're going to talk about this show in the same vein. It's going to take a little while, but people will discover it, and Star Wars fans are going to rally around it, and this is going to become one of those cherished crown jewels of Star Wars. And I think they did a great job, unless they really screw up season 2 and make it ridiculous, which I don't think they
yeah.
will.
No,
I don't think they would.
they don't seem to be heading that way of screwing
No.
up. So
No.
Predictions. We know that we have another season coming up of Andor, one more season of 12 episodes. But are we going to see Cassian and Deidre have an interaction in this season yet? Are they gonna encounter each other, or
Well, I don't think so.
no?
I do
I think
think
Cyril maybe and Cassian will. I don't know.
that's
Yes.
more possible, I think.
Where we did talk about that Luthen sent Vel to kill Cassian.
Oh, crap.
Like-
Oh, yeah.
right.
Like on top of everyone else looking for him when they already
And we
have
found
him.
out
Well, the
a
thing
big thing
is
about her
that
too.
Nothing
that
ever
she's Mon
comes of that,
Mothma's-
She's
though.
Mon
cousin.
Mothma's niece or cousin,
Right.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
oh,
Now
because
that's pretty interesting.
but it's Luthen's partner, Clyda.
I think it's like
Clea.
Clea.
She
I
has
kept thinking he
Clea.
was saying Leia, and I was like,
there's
no.
a lot. She has a lot of authority behind the scenes there.
She kind of looks
Yeah.
like a young Carrie Fisher.
She
I
does.
thought.
I thought that too.
But yeah, they have a meeting, and she tells Vel, "Okay, so we just need to kill this guy." You know, which paints everything Luthen's doing in a different light now. It's like,
Mhm.
well, he didn't want Cassian to,
join
he
the
didn't-
rebellion. Like, yeah,
No, he's like use him and throw him away.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's
So
a great point.
I feel like everyone's looking for him, so I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, who's gonna be the people that act? Because he's obviously gonna escape, but then
Yes.
where's he gonna go?
Right.
And
Well-
who is gonna find him?
Well, we are going to see, I think, we are going to see Deidre find out that he has been in prison for months,
Yeah.
and
it's
now
gonna be
he's
too
no
late.
longer there,
I can't wait for that.
and she's going to be like, maybe that in her anger and frustration is where she calls Cyril and says, "Okay, dude, let's talk."
Whatever you need, you go get them.
and
Oh,
and
man.
Cyril would be like, "I just want to smell your hair and perhaps gaze upon you one more time while I eat my cereal."
I can't wait. It's a great show. I'm sure it's gonna end strong. I'm excited, guys, and we'll
Would you
be
like to
there.
Come over and
Ew.
eat some cereal.
I'm bringing my blue milk and my
Okay.
my Globe cereal.
Okay. So what we will do here, gang, is we will reconvene when the series is done, and we'll have 3 more episodes to talk about. It just worked out this week. Unfortunately, we're not talking about the complete prison arc, but certainly we will finish talking about that when we see what happens, and we'll see how the season ends. And we already know Tony Gilroy's been doing a lot of interviews lately. He has said some things. They're going to start filming on the 21st of this month, season 2. And he also dropped something else. I mean, he said it in the interview. It's not a secret. Lindsay, you have earbuds in. You can't do that.
I know.
He said next season we will be going to the 4th moon of Yavin, to the rebel
Nice.
base,
That's
and
great.
to maybe even see how it's established.
Cool.
Ooh.
So-
yeah, I mean, Mon Mothma and Cassian have to meet at some point.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
they have a whole
Yeah.
scene together in Rogue One.
But I mean, like right now, nobody really likes apparently the protagonist of this show.
I know.
I mean, even his co-conspirators want to kill him. The Empire
his
certainly
friend-
does.
All his friends
Right.
were like, "Go away!" And then now that he's gone, they're like, "Where'd he go?"
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's telling him to get lost. The only friends he has now are in prison.
Well, we talked about it. He's he has that crisis going on, and he's not a outright believer yet, but we know he becomes a true believer of the rebellion and a true agent of the rebellion. So I can't wait to see how they tee this up for season 2.
Okay.
Either.
Well, you know what?
There is something I want to see. I want to see Luthen use that Gungan shield.
Man, he has a Gungan shield in his.
He has a Gungan
display.
shield in his.
He does.
Museum.
Man,
Well,
just go to the
I wanna
internet for
see
10
him
minutes
use that.
and ask and just type in his museum or his office, and you'll see every Easter egg there is. It's insane. From everything from like Indiana Jones to to every piece of Legends. It's amazing what's in there. It's
True
just,
that.
Yeah, Jedi Temple guard
the
mask.
holocrons. He's got He's got the Shankara stones from Indiana Jones.
So let me throw this out.
Yes.
It'll put everybody on the spot.
Okay.
We need to also reconvene, and we need to all talk about Tales of the Jedi.
Yes.
At some point.
Wow.
So
Lindsay,
good.
did you watch it?
I haven't watched it.
Okay.
Oh, it's so
man.
good.
It's
I know,
very good.
Lindsay, you are not necessarily versed in the animated part of Star Wars, but
Correct.
I think Tales of the Jedi is a great spot to jump in. It's
Oh
short.
man, I think it'd be great to watch it first and then go back and watch these things, because you're going to get so much of like different perspective and insight if you go back and watch Clone Wars or Rebels too.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So
Yeah,
They did a good job. They did a good
there's
job.
some nice prequel trilogy tie-ins
Mhm.
in that Tales of the Jedi that you will want to see it.
It's excellent.
I'll probably
and
check
it's
it
only
out
an
once
hour and a
this-
half to watch
Yeah.
all of it.
yeah,
Maybe I'll download them all. Hopefully.
do it.
It's worth it.
So
Oh yeah.
okay, so what we're coming back for another Cassian Chronicles, and we'll be back to talk. We'll talk some more about the Tales of the Jedi show. So this is good. So see everything Mike's missing out on because he's a big baby. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking to you, Mike. Okay,
He's not going
so
to hear this. It's
no, he doesn't
doesn't
listen to
matter.
the show. Neither does Lindsay, though. So I mean, it's okay
Only the ones. I only don't listen to the ones that I'm in.
that you're on. Yes, I know.
I listen to all the rest of them.
That's good. All right, so gang, we're going to call it a night here, but thank you for listening to the Cassian Chronicles. And like I said, we will be back soon as the season is over, and we will break down all of our thoughts on it. Lindsay and Brian, thank you so much for joining us once again. And Matt, who cares if you're here? I'm just kidding. Come on. That's great. Season 6 of the Hyperspace rolls on. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and come on back, and we'll see you next time.
You know you can't live without this content. So subscribe to the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.